Very good evening to one and all. Welcome to yet another session of Swadhyaya Academic Series. Swadhyaya
Hello.
Hello.
You can start now, doctor.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah.
Okay. Very good evening to one and all. Welcome to Swadhyaya session. We are by Swadhyaya. We mean to give you support for academics, and we are intending to give you individual classes for each subject with 1.5 hour session for each day. In the week, like Sundays we have Prasudi Sri Roga, Mondays Panchakarma, Tuesdays Kaya Chikilsa, Wednesdays Research Methodology, Thursdays we have Shalya, Fridays Rasambhashisham, Saturdays Shalakya. And today we have Prasudi and Sri Roga classes. And Sunday we had a class, the same class, but it was interrupted due to network issues. So we are reorienting the classes now, and we have Dr. Divya with us. So we welcome you, Dr. Divya. We can start the class. Thank you.
I'm audible, right? Hello?
Hello.
I'm audible, right? Dr. Daud.
Yeah, ma'am, it's audible.
I'm audible, right? Okay. Shall I continue? If any disruption is there, you please message me or give me feedback, okay? So going on to this topic,
Okay, ma'am.
normal labor. Okay. If I ask any questions in between also, anybody of you please answer. Okay. So moving to the topic, normal labor. So I'm just brushing up your memories. First to definition and the criteria of normal labor. You all may be knowing, still I'm just brushing up the memories. So labor means what? These are the series of events that takes place in the genital organs in an effort to expel the viable product of conception, that is fetus, placenta, and the membranes out of the womb through the vagina into the outer world, called normal labor. So there are some criteria for normal labor. The first is the pain should be spontaneous and spontaneous in onset and at term. Term means what? Before 37 completed weeks, it is called preterm labor, and after 40 weeks, it is post-term labor. So the term period is after completion of 37 weeks, that is from 38 to 40 weeks. Then the presentation should be vertex presentation. That head should overlie the pelvic bone. Then there should not be any prolongation in the stages of the labor, and there should be natural termination with minimal aids. Natural termination means what? If we, for example, if you are putting episiotomy during the second stage, it is natural. But if you are using a vacuum apparatus for the expulsion of fetus, it cannot be considered as normal. and there should not have any complication which affect the health of the mother or the baby. For example, if postpartum hemorrhage occurs in the third stage of labor, we cannot consider it as normal labor. You got my point? Okay, and there is two words we are using. First one is labor and the second delivery. Delivery means it can be either through vaginal or through an LSES, but labor is pertaining to the vaginal delivery only. Then there are the slides are visible, right? Hello.
Yeah, ma'am. It's visible.
Hello.
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 Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell.
Slides are
Hello.
visible. You can continue.
Okay. So then if at any point if it is not visible or my voices are interrupting, you please tell me. Okay. So next, ask the what are the differences between true and false labor pain? True labor pain means the pain should be at regular intervals. So due to contractions of the uterus, the patient elicitates pain. So that pain should be regular at intervals, and the frequency of the pain should increase gradually. Also, the intensity and duration of pain. From first to second stage, there will be gradual progression in the frequency, intensity, and duration of the labor pain. That is the uterine contraction. And it should be associated with show. Show means what? It is the expulsion of mucus plug and with pinch of blood in that. In the first stage, there will be slight oozing of the mucus plug from the vagina. See, from here, there will be oozing out of show. Then there should have a progressive effacement and dilatation. What is effacement? Effacement means gradual taking up of the lower part of the uterus, that is the cervical region, into the lower uterine segment. So in this picture, you can see that this is the upper segment of the uterus, and this is the portion that is the lower uterine segment. And here you can see the cervical region. See, in this picture it is visible. And during labor, the cervical fibers of the muscle fibers of the cervix merges with the lower uterine segment muscles, and it is thinned out and it feels like a paper. And during the second stage, the cervix cannot be differentiated. This is called effacement, and there will be dilatation so as to expel the baby. And during this period, there should be descent of the presenting part, and there should be formation of a bag of water. Bag of water means what? As you know, the pregnant uterus contains fetus in it, and there will be liquor amni abundant around the baby. So during labor, as the contractions passes from above to downwards, this liquor amni passes beyond the girdle of contact. In vertex presentation, this is the girdle of contact, that is the head. So there will be some amount of fluid in beyond the head, and the bulk amount in the behind the girdle of contact. So during contraction, there will be dilatation, and this will be bulging out. See, in the second picture, you can see there is a bulging of the membrane. So this can be felt through the vaginal examination. And true labor pain will never get relieved by enema or any other kind of sedatives. Okay, so what is the false labor pain? So always false labor pain is dull in nature. In true labor pain, the patient will have pain more over the fundal region. Fundal region means the upper part of the uterus, means above the abdominal area. The patient elicitates pain, and this pain radiates towards the thigh and the backside. But in false labor pain, there will be a diffuse pain in the abdomen. And also in true labor pain, as the uterus contracts, there will be stony hardness which is felt on the abdomen. When you indent the abdomen with your finger, there will be a stony hardness. It feels like as if we are touching over a stone. But in false labor pain, such kind of presentation is not seen, and most of the time this false labor pain is due to constipation or some other reason. So it gets relieved by giving an enema. So next, what are the causes of onset of labor? So the precise mechanism how labor happens is still obscure. There are some hypotheses which are postulated based on the animal study results. So this says that there are mainly three etiological factors for the initiation of labor. First one is being the endocrine. You know, the endocrine is related to hormones, right? So the estrogen, progesterone, oxytocin. These are the three major hormones which play major role in the causes of onset of labor. Estrogen is the main hormone which is causing the gradual change in the third trimester. That is, in third trimester, the level of estrogen in the maternal blood increases, causing muscles to contract. And next is the progesterone. Progesterone does the smooth muscle relaxation. So it is reducing during the third trimester. And then the most important hormone which is linked with the uterine contraction, that is oxytocin. Oxytocin causes regular uterine contraction. Its amount and its the receptor number increases in the myometrium during the onset of labor. So oxytocin causes the calcium to get deposited over the uterus, that especially in the myometrium, second layer of uterus. So that causes vigorous contraction of the uterus and leading to the initiation of labor. Then next is biochemical. The first one is fetoplacental contribution. There are some biochemical molecules which are produced like from the amnion and chorion, etc. So these are interleukins and some lysozymes which causes production of prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are another important factors which is solely causing the initiation and maintenance of labor. So there are two kinds of prostaglandins. First one is prostaglandin E2 and the second one is prostaglandin F2 alpha. These two crosses the myometrium and causes the contraction of uterus. Then this next one is mechanical stretching pathways. So mechanical stretching pathway, as the pregnancy progresses, the uterus size increases and also there is abundant liquid amni inside the uterus. So this causes uterine muscles to get stretched. So the myometrial gap junction increases, leading to the production of gap junction proteins, which causes the labor to onset. And also there are some neurological factors, yet it is not clearly proven. This there are two kinds of neurons, that is alpha adrenergic pathways and beta adrenergic pathways. The estrogen acts on the alpha adrenergic pathways, leading to the contraction, and progesterone acts on beta adrenergic pathways, that is leading to the relaxation of the uterus during contraction. So next are there are stages of labor. Conventionally there are three stages of labor. So a fourth stage is also explained. First stage is called cervical stage. The changes are mainly related to the cervix. So this starts from the true labor pain, means when the patient elicits pain, and this first stage ends with the full dilatation of the cervix. Up to that, it is called first stage. The changes are more marked over the cervical area. The duration of cervical stage, that is first stage, is in primigavida it is 12 hours, and in multipara it takes 6 hours. Next is the second stage. Second stage is divided into two phases. So second stage starts when the fully dilated cervix, and it ends with the expulsion of fetus from the birth canal. As I told, it is divided into two phases. First one is propulsive phase. What happens here means there is full dilatation of the cervix, and the presenting part, that is in normal labor, the head will be the fetal head, vertex is the presenting part that sinks into the true pelvis. Then expulsive phase means there are bearing down efforts and ends with the delivery of the fetus. And in normally in primary gravity, it takes 2 hours, and multi-para it takes 30 minutes. Then the third stage, it is it is a crucial stage. There are there are chances of many complications like postpartum hemorrhage in this stage. So it is related with the expulsion of placenta and the membranes, and its duration is 15 minutes in primary as well as multi-para, but the duration has reduced to 5 minutes in active management. Nowadays, active management is doing, we are assisting the third stage of labor and reducing the time limit. And fourth stage is only just a just observation stage. We will observe the mother and baby for 1 hour. The vitals of the mother and the uterine bleeding or everything will be checked out. So this is about the stages of labor. Next is the mechanism of labor. It's audible, right? Do you have any doubt in this? Hello? Hello?
It's audible, ma'am.
Okay, okay. You don't have any doubt, right? Okay, we will move to the mechanism of normal labor. So mechanism means what? See, there are series of movements that occurring in the fetal head in its process through its journey through the maternal pelvis. So the fetal head, as in normal labor, fetal head is the presenting part. It has to go through a series of adaptive movements. That is comprised as mechanism of normal labor. So in here, there is the left occipital anterior (LOA). This is the more common position. The mechanism of normal labor is explained in accordance with that. So there are totally 9 movements. So you have to study it in a series manner. So first is engagement, then the descent, flexion, internal rotation, crowning, extension, restitution, external rotation, and expulsion of trunk. So you can remember with this code, it 5-3. So you have to remember it in a serial manner. So you can use this code. Okay. So next, see, this is a diagram of a female pelvis. So this is the area, that is a false pelvis, and the area which has been marked in blue color beyond this area is the true pelvis, where the mechanism of labor is occurring. So before going into the mechanism of labor, you must know the fetal head and its diameter. The diameters are explained in 2 ways. First one is the transverse diameter. Transverse diameter, there are 2 transverse diameters in the fetal head. First one is the biparietal diameter, and second one is the bitemporal diameter. In normal labor, in a LOA position with vertex presentation, biparietal diameter is the more engaging diameter. Next one, see, this is a fetal head. These are the anterior posterior diameter, from the anterior part of the skull to the posterior part of the skull. So in normal labor, that is in left occipital anterior position, the anterior posterior diameter, most engaging anterior posterior diameter is the sub-occipital bregmatic. See, from here to from here. So from bregma, this is the point bregma to this is the point that is below the occiput. This is the more engaging anterior posterior diameter. So first movement, engagement. Engagement is the process where the biparietal diameter in a vertex presentation passes through the pelvic inlet. So here, see in this picture, this is the picture of pelvic inlet. This see here, this is a fetus which is engaging this in a LOA position. So this is the transverse diameter which is found. That is the biparietal diameter, and anterior posterior diameter is the suboccipital bregmatic. So you can see. So see in this video. See, the engagement occurs like this. The baby is not going right. This is engaging in a see here in this is the this part is a false pelvis, and the true pelvis is beyond this iliopectineal line, and the baby's head sinks into the pelvis. See, this is engaging in a lateral manner, that is towards the left side. Occiput point towards the left side of the pelvis. So this is the engaging way, that is the LOA position. The baby engages the by parietal diameter engages. This is called the engagement of the head. This movement is called the engagement of the head. So please see my video. Can you see? This is the pelvic bone, right? So this pelvic bone. How this in covering the ilium is the false pelvis area, and this is the inside. This is the true pelvis. See, above this is there is the pubic crust, and this is the sacrum. So the baby's head engages. See in this manner. See in this manner. Can you see? So it towards this. This is the occiput bone. This occiput bone faces towards the. See here. It is in an oblique manner. This is the LOA position. So the baby's head fits sinks into the true pelvis, and it fits like this. Like this. This is visible, right? So this is the movement of engagement. Next movement is descent. Next is the descent. So descent. Descent means what? It's a downward movement of the fetal head. It is a continuous process. That is, in primigravide, the engagement occurs first, then the descent starts. But in multipari, the woman have had a previous delivery, vaginal delivery, the descent and the engagement occurs simultaneously. So the head, through the process of descent, the baby is expelled out. So the factors facilitating descent are, as I told, there are strong uterine contractions and then retraction. Retraction means what? The uterine muscles have got a capacity to shorten their length. As during contraction, the size reduces considerably. Then relaxation, slowly the uterine muscles size get decreased, and leading to the reduced volume of the uterine cavity. So, and also there are bearing down effects from the mother. Bearing down efforts are involuntary abdominal contractions of the mother during the second stage of labor, and there are pressure over the breech. Breech means the buttocks of the fetus during contraction. That pressure will be transmitted to the fetal head through the fetal spine. So because of that, there will rupture of membrane. These all will facilitate the movement of descent. Next is the movement of flexion. Flexion means what? As there is a descent, but the uterine cavity has got some muscles. Mainly there are levator ani muscles. Collectively they are called the pelvic floor. So when the head during its downward movement, that is during descent, when it meets with the resistance with the pelvic floor, the baby's head becomes flexed. So that movement is called flexion. So in this video you can see this is the engagement. Then the baby, due to the resistance from the muscles, the head is tilting. See, this is the movement of flexion. Because during that time, the head of the fetus ascends up. So this is what happening in flexion. So the flexion is explained in the two-arm lever theory of mechanics. So this is the seesaw, you know. So if there is pressure over its one arm, the other arm ascends up. So like this, whether there is a pressure, downward pressure in this arm will goes up. So like that, this is the fulcrum where the two joints. This is the fulcrum. So in the fetal head, the occipito-allantoid joint. See, as I shown here, this will be the fulcrum, occipito-allantoid joint. And from to the occipito-allantoid joint to this occiput, this is the short arm, and the long arm is to the condyles of the sheep. So when this goes down, this ascends up. So that's what you seen in that video. The baby's head, when it's flexed, the other becomes protrudes out through the pelvic floor. So this is so because of flexion, it passes through the pelvic floor. Next is internal rotation. Internal rotation means internal, by what it means that internally the head is rotating. So this movement is very important. Without internal rotation, there will not be further descent. So so as to expel out through the vulval area, internal rotation has to be taken place. So internal rotation means twisting of the head so that the occiput gradually move towards the symphysis pubis. And in engagement, we have seen that the occiput is facing towards laterally. During internal rotation, this this vertex moves into a 90 degree to this. So earlier it was C. As I'm pointing in the cursor, earlier the head, particularly the occiput, was pointing towards this side. So from here it moves and comes just beneath the pubic bone. See here the head. Now the occiput point towards the pubis. So this is called internal rotation. Internal rotation means twisting of the head so that the occiput gradually moves towards the symphysis pubis and anteriorly from its position. So see in this video you can see how internal rotation takes place. See, here you can see the head is moving and to a 1/8 of the circle, and this is the symphysis pubis. The head is coming beneath that. You got? Okay, this is the movement of internal rotation. So how this movement is occurring? There are mainly three theories which has been explained in so as to explain the internal rotation. First one is slope of pelvic floor. So this is the pelvic bone and this is the pelvic floor. I said that levator ani are the muscles collectively called, the fibers of levator ani are collectively called as pelvic floor. So this is concave in shape, right? So there is a pressure from above to downward. So because, and there is a slope. So due to that, the head rotates. And the next thing is pelvic shape. The pelvis has a shape which is inward. It's like a groove. So because of that, there is a slipping movement and low of unequal equilibrium. Flexibility means what? There is a difference in the flexibility of each part of the fetus. The head has one kind of flexibility, and the body and the trunk has different types of flexibility. Because of all that, there is an internal rotation. So during internal rotation, see. See, can you see me? Hello, can you see me? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, it's visible.
Can you? Okay. See, this is a fetus, right? So, as we said, it was like this. During engagement, descent, flexion, it was like this. See, so during internal rotation, the head twists and it comes beyond the, just beneath the pubic symphysis. Like this, it will be like this. So as the head, there is during internal rotation only the movement of the head takes place. No trunk and the shoulder will never move. So due to this movement, there will be torsion over the neck, right? When you just tilt your head, but your trunk and neck, other parts are moving, there will be a torsion. So the neck sustains a torsion of 1/8. So this you have to keep in mind. Okay. Next, during crowning also the torsion sustains. Next is the movement is the crowning. Crowning means when the maximum biparietal diameter. I told that the maximum biparietal diameter is the transverse diameter of the fetus cut. When it stretches the vulval outlet. So and also there is no recession of the head even after the contraction is, passes off. So during each contraction, the fetus is pushed outwards, and during crowning it stretches the vulval out. So you can see the scalp hair of the baby. See, as you see in this picture, the scalp hair can be visible. So technically, when biparietal diameter stretches the vulval outlet, this is called crowning. So after crowning, even if the contraction has gone, then also the baby's head will not go back. So that is the significance of crowning. So see. In this video, relax. This is see, this is the crowning. The scalp hair is visible. This is very important because during after crowning, we will put, hello.
Hello, ma'am. Please share your screen again. Okay.
Okay. See, is that not visible? Hello.
Yeah, it's not visible now. After your explanation, it's not visible now.
Okay. I will share it again. Now is it visible?
Yes, visible.
Hello. Okay. So see, during crowning, what happens means the video is visible, right? Video is visible, right? Hello?
Yeah, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, see, this is the crowning phase. The fetal head is seen, the scalp can be visible. This is the parietal diameter. It stretches the vulval outlet. During crowning, it will not go back. See, this is the overuterine segment. Here you cannot differentiate the cervix. The cervix has 100% effaced, means this cannot be differentiated. See, this is how the crowning. So next, moving on to the movement of restitution. Restitution means what? So after crowning, there will be visible passive movement of the head due to untwisting of the neck sustained during internal rotation. And there will be a 1/8 degree circle movement opposite to that of internal rotation. So thus after that, the occiput will point towards the maternal thigh. So this I will show you the video. See, this is the crowning has happened. Then there will be passive movement. The head, there will be twisting of the head. Passive twisting of the head to the 1/8 degree. During crowning, the head was pointing, the occiput was pointing below the symphysis pubis. Now it again went to a lateral angle. So this is called the restitution. So can you see this? Hello? Can you see? Here, as I told, in internal rotation, the head has torsion. So after this is how the crowning takes place. After crowning, again the head goes into a lateral angle. So this is called the substitution, because the head and twist, and the neck, which has sustained a torsion during internal rotation, it releases. Because of that, there will be passive movement of the feet. That is called the restitution. Okay. So next is restitution. After restitution, it is the external rotation. External rotation means what? There will be a movement of the rotation of head which is visible externally due to internal rotation of the shoulders. Again, restitution, as the shoulders has to come out, it will be lying beneath the symphysis pubis. So because of that, the head again moves and it becomes in a lateral angle. It will be in the same direction as the head has engaged. During engagement, there was an LOA, right? In an oblique anterior diameter, the occiput was pointing. Likewise, in external rotation, the head will point towards the lateral side. Means the head will be in the lateral part where the left maternal thigh is placed. Okay, so as you can see this in a video. So see, the head going into a lateral direction and the shoulders are like beneath the pubic symphysis. See, anterior shoulder is just beneath the pubic symphysis. This is called external rotation. Means head is rotating externally. That's all. Nothing more than that. Then next is the expulsion of trunk. Expulsion of trunk means that the shoulders are now positioned in an anterior posterior diameter, and the further descent takes place until the anterior shoulder will be slipped away from the pubic symphysis, and the posterior shoulder will be sweeps over the perineum. Then we can remove the trunk through a lateral flexion. So see in this video. See here, beneath the pubic symphysis, the anterior shoulder came, and this is the posterior shoulder. It will be slipping away, and thus the shoulders, posterior shoulder is born first, then anterior shoulder, then rest of the trunk through a lateral flexion. It is drawn out laterally. So this is how the expulsion of trunk. So in this video, there is a series of movements. First, this is the engagement, then descent flexion, internal rotation, then the external rotation, extension, external restitution, then delivery of the anterior shoulder and the trunk. So these movements all are collectively known as mechanism of labor. Up to this is you are clear, no? Is that clear? Is that clear? Whether you have any doubt? Okay. Thank you. We will the stage of the labor. So I have just briefly explained regarding this in initial slide. Now we will go in detail with that. So first stage, as I told, there will be intermittent uterine contraction followed by show. Show means what? There is expulsion of mucus plug. So initially the interval is about 15 to 30 minutes, and there will be contraction of duration 30 seconds. One pain every 15 minutes or every half an hour, contraction will come associated with uterine pain, and it will last for 30 seconds. in the initial first stage. Then the late first stage, there will be pain during every 3 to 5 minutes and the duration will be 45 seconds. And there will be dilatation and effacement of the cervix. So what is dilatation? That is the dilatation of the cervical canal, right? So in cervix, dilatation is assessed how we assess means we will do a vaginal examination. If we can introduce our one finger through the cervical opening, it is called one finger dilatation, and in centimeter it is almost 1 to 1.5 centimeter. If one finger can be introduced into the cervix, it is called one finger dilated, that is approximately 1.5 centimeter. Then 2 finger, 3 finger, like that. When it is fully dilated, it is called, we cannot feel in cervical area. So when it is fully dilated, it is up to 10 centimeter. Then effacement, as I told, that we can measure the cervical length prior to the onset of labor. So in that stage, we will say that it is not effaced. Effacement has not taken place. And during the labor, the cervical fibers merges with the lower uterine segment. We cannot differentiate cervix and the lower uterine segment. So its cervical length in the vagina will be assessed. If 3/4 is remaining, it is called 25%. Only 50% of the vaginal length is remained, it is called 50% effacement. If totally no cervix not at all not felt, it is called 100% effacement. So next, in this effacement and dilatation is always associated with descent. Descent means the baby's head will go down and down. So it is assessed by abdomen. Before engagement, we can fully palpate the fetal head. So it is not engaged. It is called 5/5. As you see in this picture, if it is over the pelvic brim. So this is the pelvic brim. See here, this is the pelvic brim. When it touches, it's 4/5, and beyond, when it goes down and down, it is called 2/5, 1/5, and 0/5 when it reaches the last. So see, you can see this in this video that see. This is the video of first stage of labor. So first stage is comprising from the Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, it's audible. Tell. Hello.
Hello, ma'am. You can continue.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah.
So,
Audible,
whether
ma'am.
there were any doubt? Okay. Shall I continue?
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay. So see. You can see in this video that how the first stages occurring, how the effacement and dilatation is occurring. So, see here, see, this is the this is the cervix into the vaginal portion. So in here we cannot say that it is the efface, but there is some dilatation, almost one finger dilatation is there. So see, slowly the cervical fibers are taking up. Cervix is merging with the this is the lower uterine segment. It is merging with that. This is called effacement. Then gradually the cervix get dilates. So this is what happening especially in the first stage. And also the expulsion of mucus plug. See, the mucus plug has expelled, the cervix is taking up, and in this video, this is the rupture of membrane what's shown in this video. So this is what all about first stage of labor. So in first stage, the membranes may or may not rupture. If it ruptures before the onset of labor pain, this is called premature labor. If it starts in the early first phase, it is called early rupture of membranes. So the membranes are felt through vaginal examination. So if membranes are not ruptured, you will feel like a tense bag is bulging out, like that you will feel. So thus we can say that the membranes are ruptured or not. Then next thing is during first stage of labor, we have to assess the maternal pulse rate. That is normally during labor it increases by 10 to 15 beats per minute. The BP also, there will be a slight increase in BP. The BP has a specific importance because the conditions like eclampsia means increase in blood pressure along with seizures may occur. So it has to be noted every half an hourly, and the temperature usually it is unaffected. Normal temperature will not change. Then the fetal effect, as long as the membranes are intact, there is no adverse fetal outcome as seen. And also during each contraction, there will be FHR, fetal heart rate will be reduced by 10 to 20 beats. So this is what all about first stage. In first stage, the main thing is the intensity and pain duration. It increases gradually, progressively, and then there is main thing dilatation and effacement. Effacement means what? It is the merging of the lower fibers of the cervix into the lower uterine segment, and there is dilatation. So this is all about first stage, and the membrane status is also important. Then next, the second stage of labor. So as we told, the first stage ending up in full dilatation of cervix, and in second stage from there to expulsion of the fetus, there is second stage of labor. So in second stage of labor, the pain duration and intensity is increased. See the interval of pain. Every 2 to 3 minutes, the patient feels pain, and also the pain lasts for 1 to 1.5 minutes. Earlier, it was up to 45 minutes. And then the mother feels bearing down upward. Means mother feels an irresistible feel to bear down the fetus out to the out. So it is occurring by Ferguson reflex. Ferguson reflex is nothing but when the vulval nerve endings are triggered, there will be release of oxygen, in turn increasing the contraction. That is what the Ferguson reflex. And the membrane status, during second stage, there will be rupture of membrane with gush of liquor any. If it is ruptured before first stage or during first stage, there will not be gush of liquor. Then next is the vaginal cells. As we seen, during crowning, there will be vulval opening will be circular and it is bulged out. So while crowning, if there will be any stretch in the anal sphincter, the patient will defecate. So maternal signs are as said in the first stage, there will be slight variations in the pulse and BP in the mother. Next, it should be noticed in every 5 to 15 minutes in the second stage of labor. And the fetal effects also, the FHR will be reduced to 10 to 15 beats. Okay. So see in this video, you can see how the second stage is happening. See. There is full dilatation of cervix leading to crowning of the fetal head. This time we will, after crowning, we will put the episiotomy wound midline and laterally. See, this is how the crowning. There is, see, this is fully dilated, effaced, 100% effaced. And this is how, up to this stage, this is called the second stage of labor. The complete see, through lateral flexion, the baby is taken out like this. This is what about the second stage of labor. Next, the third stage of labor. Third stage also, there will be intermittent uterine contractions so as to expel the placenta. So the patient will feel an intermittent discomfort in the lower abdomen. So during third stage, as I told, it's a crucial, etc. So because there are chances of postpartum before per abdominally, because during after the expulsion of the baby, the uterus comes at the level of umbilicus. The fundal height will be at the level of umbilicus, and after the expulsion of placenta, the uterus is felt as a globular, firm, ballotable, and the fundal height will be at the level of suprapubic region, above the pubic region. Next, per vaginal examination, before separation, we can see that oozing of blood from the vulval area, and the length of umbilical cord remains static. But after separation, there is gush of vaginal bleed, and there will be permanent lengthening of the cord, and placenta membranes are expelled. Maternal signs, there are chills, occasional chills, shivering, which are often associated with the expulsion of placenta, but if it is small, you have to take care of her. So see, we are cutting the clamp, and this is the straightening of the umbilical cord. The placenta comes down. So this is what happened in the third stage. Next, how you manage labor. So you have studied the stages of labor, mechanism of labor. So you know how to manage. You should know how to manage the normal labor. First one is preliminary. Preliminary means what? We have to take care of 3 C's. 3 C's means what? Clean the hands, then clean the abdomen, clear surfaces, clean the examiner's hands. These all things we have toileting as necessary, and it should be done with 10% Dettol solution or any strong antiseptics. Next is vaginal examination, that should be performed prior to the first stage, and the adequacy of the pelvis and the presenting part and the position, everything has to be noted. Then station of the head. Station of the head means what? See, this is the level of ischial spines. See, this is called zero station. When is the head is engaged, the head will be at the level of, see, this is this dark pink line. So this is the station 0. You can assess it through your vaginal fingers. So this is called 0 station. Before this, above this, it is called -1, -2 also. When your patient comes, if you are suspecting for a normal delivery, the head should be at the level of 0 station. Then beyond that 1 centimeter apart, it is called as +1, +2, +3, +4, etc. Next one, after assessing the station of the head, you have to assess the cervical dilatation, then how much is F-phase, and the status of membranes. If membranes are ruptured, the color of liquor should be monitored. If the color is greenish, also greenish or yellowish, it should be due to meconium stained, or if it is RH incompatibility, it is yellowish in color. So the color should be noticed. If any color difference is seen, you have to go for a CS section or any other kind of early termination of pregnancy. Next is the caput formation. Caput is nothing but the molding of the fetal bonds due to stasis. Next is how you manage the first stage. General precautions has to be taken, that is clean surfaces, clean hand, everything has to be noted. Then antiseptic dressing. The abdomen and the vulva is painted with 10% Dettol solution, and throughout labor the ladies encourage emotional support, because emotional disturbances leads to cortisol release that will reduce the secretion of oxytocin, which in turn cause the incoordinated uterine contractions. Next, constantly you have to supervise the patient. Then in first stage, rest and ambulation is advocated. Then diet, normally food is withheld during active labor, because if at all an anesthesia has to be given, there are chances for aspiration. So that's why the food is withheld. held. Then bladder has to bladder care. The patient is encouraged to pass the urine. Then if at all needed, pethidine can be given for relief of pain, but it is not given in the late first stage because it will cause a respiratory distress in the fetus. So it is normally not done, but is advocated in Western countries. Then assessment of the progression of the labor. Then pulse should be noted every 30 minutes, and urine should be monitored for any protein or acetone, different smell, etc. Then if at all any drug is given, oxytocin, any other, it should be noted. Normally, when nowadays when a patient comes, we will give a cytotec. No, cytotec is nothing but the prostaglandin. Prostaglandins are first given so as to initiate labor. If the uterine contractions are inadequate, then we will give 10% oxytocin to the IV or IM. Then abdominal palpation should be done. Then uterine contractions, its frequency, intensity, duration, everything has to be noted. Then we have to count number of contractions in 10 minutes. If at all, then only we can assess it as first stage or second stage, like that. Then also the station, pelvic grip has to be noted. And always, those who have undergone the clinical posting, you might have seen that there is a machine called fetotopograph. It will in that screen there will be the FHR will be written over there, and also the uterine contractions and pressure also will be seen. That there will be a belt that will be tied around the abdomen. So in that you have to check for all this thing. In first stage, every half an hour you must look for FHR and this uterine contractions. Next, vaginal examinations has to be performed so as to assess the dilatation and effacement. Then these all things are done in the first stage. And in second stage, always our intention is to facilitate normal labor. So non-interferences with maximum support has to be done. So general care, everything has to be noted. Then constantly we have to supervise the patient in next second stage. So FHR is recorded in every 5 minutes, and also the uterine contractions, the blood pressure of the mother is noted every 5 minutes. And per vaginally, you have to the head will be beyond the pelvic floor. So you have to check for any cord around neck is there. If at all it's there, you have to take care during the expulsion. Next, preparation of delivery. Again, vaginal toileting is done, and patient is lie down in dorsal position with a 15-degree lateral tilt. Then in this stage, catheterization of bladder is done. Then the delivery is conducted. So first thing is delivery of head. So during crowning, encourage the patient to bear down. If the scalp is visible about 5 centimeters, in every uterine contraction, we have to maintain the flexion of the head, because as I said, there is a torsion of the neck. So during contraction, the flexion should be maintained. The flexion of the fetal head should be maintained, and you should push the occiput backwards so as to facilitate the flexion with the thumb and index finger. Then the perineum, as we see in this picture, the perineal area, the right palm, with the right palm, a sterile pad is kept, and repeat the process, and also flexion is maintained, and in the occiput left hand is placed, and slow delivery of the head is conducted. This is called Ritson manner, means a sterile towel is kept with the right hand in the chin of the fetus, and the occiput is grasped. So slowly we are taking the baby out. So there should not be undue pressure or traction over the head. Then delivery of shoulders. So we have, after the delivery of the head will be at the around on the maternal thigh. So wait for the movements of restitution. Restitution, as I said, there will be passive movement of the head due to untwisting of the neck. Then anterior shoulders borne behind pubic symphysis. If there is a delay, you should have to grasp with the hands, and then gently release the anterior shoulder. then draw the head upwards and delivery of posterior shoulder. Successively, the trunk is delivered by lateral flexion. Always note that lateral flexion has to be promoted so as to reduce the fetal distress. Next is management of third stage of labor. Third stage, I said it's a crucial stage. In earlier days, we were after expulsion of trunk, we will wait for 15 minutes so as to expel the placenta. But nowadays, what we do is, after, you might have seen, after the expulsion of baby, this active management, or in all hospitals, as per WHO protocol, active management is conducted. So after the delivery of the baby, an injection, oxytocin or methergine 0.2 mg is given in the maternal thigh. So that will cause the vigorous uterine contractions and will result in the expulsion of delivery of placenta in by a controlled contraction. If it fails, again the oxytocin is induced, and it will if again there will be again we will give an injection. So repeated. Then if at all it is not coming, manual removal is promoted. But usually after an injection, the placenta will be expelled out. This is how the third stage of management. Before and also the cutting and ligation of clamp and Apgar score of the baby also noticed in the third stage. So this is all about the normal labor as per model. So next I'm going to move into the Ayurvedic point. If you have any doubts, you may ask me. Hello? Shall I continue? Shall I continue to the Ayurvedic portion?
Yes, ma'am, you can continue.
Hello? Okay. If you have any doubts, you please message, because okay, so I will move to the Ayurvedic point. So as per Ayurveda, what is Prasava Nirukti? Prasava as a term is used to denote labor, normal labor. So Prasava is Garbha Vimojanam. So next is the Samanya Prasava Kala. So there is difference of opinion between various acharyas. I have quoted the slokas. No need to study much the slokas, only one sloka, like Kashyapa, the Shivam Garbhavasa, that you can study. So next, this is the this I have been tabulated. Normally, as per Ayurveda, most of the acharyas has told that from 9th day till 10th month is the normal period of gestation. But Shushruta and Chakrapani and others has told that up to 12th month can be considered as normal. Only Charaka has told that up 9 to 10 months is a normal period of gestation. So this is regarding Samanya Prasava Kala as per Ayurveda. Next, Prasava Prarambha Karanani. We have explained the causes of onset of labor as per modern. Now we are explaining as per Ayurveda. So this sloka, as especially Shushruta, this frequently asked in the exams and the oral. So you must study all this sloka. That is Kalasya Parinamena Muktam Brindat Yada Phalam Prabhadyade Subhavena Nan Yada Padidam Dhruvam Evam Kala Prakashena Mukto Nadi Nibandana Garbhashesto Yo Garbhajananaya Prabhadyade. So the explanation goes like this. Subhava is the one cause for the onset of labor. Subhava means not unknown cause. There is a specific etiology due to its Subhava. By nature, just like that, after the completion of Prasava Kala, it expels out. Next is Garbhavasa Vairagya. Garbhavasa Vairagya means what? As the fetus attains the maturity, it has an indifference in when it's uterine. So it is expelling out. Next is Garbha Sampurnada. After attainment of full maturity, the Garbha goes out. Then next is Kala Prakasha. Kala Prakasha is the time factor. So as per Ayurveda, the whole causes for initiation of labor has been concluded under this factors. Next, Prasava Samaye Garbhashe Garbhasiddhi. How the intrauterine fetus stay during or at the onset of labor. So as per acharyas, it is like that. See, Parivritya avakshiras. Parivritya avakshiras means it's nothing but the vertex presentation. So Shruta also says like that. Sa yonim shirasa yadi swabhavat prasavam madi. In the yoni shiras, that is the vertex, is the presenting part. Then all the acharyas have the similar opinion. Avakshiras as the similar opinion which has been explained in our classics. Next is Avi or Grahi. This is mostly asked in the examinations. What is difference between Avi or Grahi Shula, or what is Avi? So Avi is nothing but the uterine contractions or pain. Grahi means the bearing down efforts. You got Avi means the uterine contraction. Grahi means the maternal bearing down effect. The sloka goes like this. Avyavrde striya garbe vivrde chabaramge. Avyavrda striya means due to when the avi, presence of avi, means normal uterine contraction, and garbe vivrde chabaramge, there is cervical dilatation. Then grahishu vartamana. So when the bearing down occurs, that is grahishula also occurring. Then then the garbini, the prasava occurs. Na tiksham grahi shuleshu shipram nari prajayade. If at all the grahi shula, that bearing down occurs, are more, but vilambida means if the uterine contractions are reduced or inappropriate uterine contractions are there, even if there is strong grahi shula, that is bearing down occurs, the nari will not give birth. So Avi is essential for the onset or expulsion of the baby. Next, similar explanations given in Ashtanga also. During Avi, there will be Yoni Veda. Yoni Veda means pain in the over the yoni, that is around the vulval area. Spurana Sravanani. There will be expulsion of mucus plug, and then Avina Manjana Tado Garbodagastadi. After that, there will be rupture of membrane. Like that, it is explained in Ashtanga Sangriya. This is also you must study in thoroughly, because this is most oftenly asked in the exam, especially during the entrance examinations also. So prasava, next is prasava kala bhatyani. What are not contraindicated during prasava kala? First is strama. Strama means exertion, nasya, rekta mukti, maidhuna, vishamashana, improper diet, viruddhanna, Vegaroda, suppression of natural urges, asatmya, adibhojana, excess eating, diva nidra, day sleep, abhishyandi, vishtambi, guru ahara, all these things are contraindicated during or around the labor. Next is explanation of prasava avastha. So in our classics, there is very detailed explanation regarding the each and every stages of labor. So I have concluded it in a chart. So this chart you must study. So Prajayini or Prasavotsuka Avastha, which has explained in Shishra Samhita or Bhaprakasha, it can be correlated with the pre-labor stage, where there is lightning, the mother feels reduced cardiorespiratory embarrassment. So this is called the Prajayini Avastha. Then Asanna Prasavastha. Asanna means the word by me, it says that Asanna. That first stage has been started. Next is Upasthita Prasava, means between first and second stage. Parivartita Prasava means Parivartana means what? There is a movement. So the internal rotation, external rotation, or can be means considered under the Parivartita Garbhavastha. So where it is occurring, it's occurring in the second stage. Then Abara Nirgamana, that is the third stage. So just I'm going through each avastha. No need to study each in detail. If you are for PGs, you must study all these stages in detail. But for UG students, you must study Prajayini and Parivartita Garbha, Aparanirgamana. This is necessary. This is only necessary for you people. So Prajayini means Jadehi Shidile Hukshe Mukte Hrudeya Mandane Sa Shule Jagane Nari Neya Satu Prajayini. There will be Jade Shidila Hukshida. The patient feels a relaxation from the cardiorespiratory embarrassment. Then Mukti Hrudayamandani means feeling of relaxation, because the presenting part sings, the mother will feel a relaxation because diaphragmatic pressure is released. Then Sashure Jagani, there will be pain over the Jagana. So that this stage is called Prajani. This can be compared with the lightning stage or pre-labor stage. Then Asanna Prasava. Asanna Prasava, I told, is the first stage of labor. Klama, Glani, Mukta Hrudaya Bandhana, Akshini Nistrasa, Mutra Purisha Bahulyam. So these all scenes when the around the first stage of labor, as there will be pressure over the bladder, there will be mutra bahulyada, means there will be increased frequency of maturation, and if it is pressure over the rectum, there will be purisha bahulyada, there will be defecation. On and often defecation will be the shidila tree, because as the presenting part advances, the feeling of relaxation over the frontal area. Then adogrutam, more heaviness is felt over the lower abdomen. Then abhlasham, reduced hunger, vedana over udara, hridaya, kadi. This can be considered during contraction, the pain is felt more over the frontal area. So hridaya, kadi, vasti, vankshana, toda, veda, shula, all are the uterine pains. Then Yoni Sravana, there will be expulsion of mucus plug. Then on the strong uterine contraction that starts. That is Tadanandaram Avina Pradurbhava. So this is the Asana Prasava. The same explanation is given by Ashtanga Sharira, but he has used the term Adya Ashya Prasava instead of Asana Prasava. Next, Prajanana Kala Abhimada. Prajanana Kala Abhimada means what? It is the end of first stage. So there will be klama, gratana, the lady will feel exertion, then glanana, glani, means akshanoho shaidilya. So the patient, these all the symptoms of exertion of the patient. Then vimukta bandhanam iva vakshasaha, kuksher avastramsram, these all we have dealt in the asana prasava. Adogurutam, vankshi, vasti, kadi, kukshi, pashra, krishta, nistodam, yonehe prasaranam, that is the expulsion of mucus plug. Then an ananabhlasham, avi pradurvaga, prasegascha garbhodaga. This is the rupture of membranes. Then upasthita prasava means what? The stage has been started into a second stage. So in that also there will be pain over kati, prishta, and abhishna, purisha pravati, mutra pravati, yoni, mugat, sleshma. This indicates the expulsion of mucus plug as well as the rupture of membranes. Then parivartita or avak prasava is confined to the second stage. So there will be hridayam udaram, there will be pressure over the Vasti Pradesha. So Vasti Shiro Avagranadi. Then Avi becomes strong. Tarendena Avyaha. There will be increased Avi over the Avi. That is the labor pain. Then this is same has been explained in Ashtanga Sharira also. In Charaga, he has used the term Parivartita Garbha. In Ashtanga Sharira, he has coined the term Avak Prasava. Next stage is the Aparapadana. Apara is nothing but the placenta. Yada prajada syatadeva kaschidasya apara chinna praviti. They have not gone in detail regarding the aparapadana, but just explain that there is a state that is apara is going out. Then management. So management as per Sharaga, you have to study. So there are difference of opinion regarding the management. No need to study the sloka. So in the management of labor during first stage of Kushtadi Churnam for nasal administration has been told. So while administering Nasahi Shirasodharam, when you administer medicine through the nose, so there will be that might trigger the HP or HP axis, hypothalamo pituitary axis, leading to oxytocin secretion. Then Burja or Shimshiba Patra for fumigation. Then local Abhyanga over Kadi Vasti Pradesha has advocated. Then next is the Pravahana. Acharyas has explained detail regarding Pravahana, how to give. Pravahana is nothing but the wearing down effect, how to give Pravahana. So in Charaga, three kind of Pravahana has been told. First is Chanehi, slowly, then with the force, then during crowning, when the fetal head is visible, forceful bearing down. This three kind of Pravahana has been explained. Then local next is so as to facilitate or assist labor, local compression over the abdomen has been told. That is Nabi Upari Nishpidya Sabhena Pana. With the left hand, you have to give a pressure over the Navi, Prishta, etc. Then also Spiju, Sangrahya Supidam Pirde. We should tap the buttock muscle so as to facilitate the labor contraction. Then so as to assist the aparapadana, some medications has been explained. First one is Gurja Patra, etc. which has to be fumigated over yoni. Then Kushtadi Tailam has been explained for Astavana as well as for Pana during the contraction. Then Sukshma Ela, etc. drugs has to be given Kalka so as to expel the apara, and Balua etc. has been should be given so as to expel the apara. Next is Shatapushpa Aditaila can be given as Piju. The Yoni Piju is given with Shatapushpa, and Anuvasana Vasti has also given so as to facilitate the aparapadra. Then Vaja, likewise Vajadi Astavana etc. has to be given so as to trigger the aparapadana. So these all has been explained in Ayurveda regarding the management of labor. So thank you. This is all about Ayurvedic as well as modern management. If you have any doubts, you may ask. Whether there is any doubts. Actually, it's a big topic. We will usually take 1 to 2 months so as to complete. Okay. Pooja has, Akshata has asked how the intravenous infusion of oxytocin for induction of labor. So, see, normally, as we said that is oxytocin is releasing from our pituitary gland. We facilitates the labor. So directly we will not go for a oxytocin injection. First, what we will do, we will give a prostaglandin suppository over the cervix. We will put as prostaglandin that is Cytotec. Normally we get means commonly it is Cytotec is used. It is nothing but the prostaglandin only. So prostaglandin will be kept over the ectocervical region. So it will be absorbed. That will initiate the labor process. So we will assess for the contraction. How many contractions are coming in? Contractions are coming in 1 minute. Sorry, in 30 minutes. If it is first stage, we will assess how many contractions are coming in the first stage, etc. So if at all the contractions are not much, we will go for a suppression of membranes. Suppression of membranes also causes the trigger in the oxytocin release of the prostaglandins. If the active labor pain are not coming, then we will go for a oxytocin infusion. Normally, oxytocin derivatives like sindomyosin or methergine, ergot derivatives combined are used. So we will infuse. First, we will infuse 10 10 drops per liter, like in a dose of 10 drops per liter, we will infuse through eye root. Normally, with that patient, we will have a contractions, means that which is necessary for the progression of the labor. If at all the contractions are not proper, we should carefully watch whether there is any cephalopelvic disproportion. If the flexion is not proper and if the elevator or any muscles are tight or stenosis, it may cause for arrest. In that stage, no further go for oxytocin. If there is a sustainable reason and at the same time the maternal BP and FHR are noticed, if it is adequate, if there is progression, we will wait for another minutes and we will again go for infusion. If it is not proper, we will go for an LSCS delivery. As you Akshata, is that clear? Okay. Whether you have any doubts over the mechanism of labor. Somebody please respond me so that okay, I will ask one by one. Monica, can you hear me? Okay. Basaraj, is that clear? That mechanism and the stages?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Is that clear? Do you have any doubt? You can ask. Only Akshata has asked a doubt. Can I hope that all clear session? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gopika.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Others? Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello, ma'am.
It's clear. Yeah,
Ma'am. At which
yeah.
position at which position the umbilical should be cut? At which
Okay.
position the
See,
umbilical should be cut?
normally, after the through lateral expulsion, we will take the baby out, right? So after that, the cord will be put. So we have to look for whether lengthening of the cord is there or not, like that. So after we have to look for pulsation of the umbilical cord. So if pulsation that is to facilitate extra transfer of arterial blood to the fetus, that is around 80 ml will be passed to the fetus. If there is RH incompatibility, if the mother blood group is negative and the baby father may have a positive blood group, we have to do a sudden cut of umbilical cord. So we will take 10 to 15 centimeter, we will put 2 quarters artery forceps and we will cut and then we will clamp it again. It is not about the position, it is the length of the cord, and we have to put the length of the cord if there is any knot around the cord, and the condition of the baby and the mother. Kedar?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Akshata has been asked the next question. Woman with previous can we go for a normal labor? Yes, of course, we can go for a normal labor if the delivery is not, means within 2.5 years, we will not go for a normal delivery, because as you know, there are risks for accidental rupture of the any kind of amniotic fluid embolism can also occur. Amniotic fluid embolism means during the rupture of membrane, the fluid go out. No, so fluid embolism means amniotic fluid go into the uterine artery and block the. It will act like a pulmonary embolism. So because of that, within 2 to 2.5 years, we will not go for a normal delivery. But if the durations, there is means the gap between 2 pregnancies are more than 3 or 3.5 years, the mother is proper uterine contraction, and also there is no any such complications which may affect the mother or the baby during the and all the criteria of normal labor, as we explained in the first slide. If it is we can go for a normal delivery, but mostly patient and the doctor prefers CS section, but of course we can go. So Annapurna has asked a very nice question. What is the importance of station? So station means, I told, this is the pelvis. So zero station means, see, this is the ischial spines. See, this is the ischial spines of the when the head reaches here, we said that zero station. So when the baby is in the station, we can see that it is completely engaged. Okay. Then, so as to assess the progress of the labor, the means when there is a descent, the station will be +1, +2, like that. The head is going beyond the outlet. But when this baby is arrested in zero station thing, that means there is no descent, there is no progression of labor. So that might due to a cephalopelvic disproportion, means pelvis will not be adequate so as to pass the baby. So there may be cephalopelvic disproportion, and that may precipitate for fetal distress. And it will affect the fetal heart rate. So, so as to assess the progress of labor, we must examine this patient. Okay, so Shabnam has asked, explain the mechanism of effacement and dilatation. As I said, before labor, there are two segments for the uterus. First one is water, so it comprises, that is the lower part becomes the isthmus. So that becomes the lower uterine segment. So during effacement, the cervical fibers merges with the lower uterine segment. We cannot find differentiation between the cervix. So as you seen in the video, we cannot differentiate cervix. So the baby's head can be slipped out. So effacement can be filled as I said, completely is like a paper. We will, when you insert vaginal fingers during vaginal examination, you can find that like a paper is around the head of the feet, around the head. So that is effacement. Dilatation means the see, this is how the cervix is a conical shape. During effacement, that becomes reduced into line. So there will be just a round shape will be there around the baby's head. Then dilatation means as the head has to pass down, right? So as you know, the cervix is closed. Until and unless the cervix dilates, the fetus cannot pass downwards. So dilatation is a major and crucial. It has to be occur so that so as to pass to the second stage. Okay, Harshita has asked a question. It is compulsory for episiotomy in all cases. No, it is not at all compulsory. See, but nowadays most of the doctors prefers episiotomy, because if we episiotomy means just we are cutting the perineal region so as to easy expulsion of the head. So it is done, mainly 3 ways are done, but most commonly medially and laterally we are giving an episiotomy wound. So when the crowning is seen, so during relaxation of the uterine muscle, we will do episiotomy. So most of the cases nowadays episiotomy is practiced, because it is better to have a clear-cut wound than a lacerated wound. If we do not put a episiotomy episiotomy wound, the perineal muscles will taunt like anyway. So as to avoid that, episiotomy wound is done. But if in our hospital, as we seen in Government Ayurvedic College Trivandrum, we mostly use for episiotomy because we give Anuvasana or Asta and PGO, etc. There will be sufficient dilatation of the vulval outlet, so the baby's head must will go easily. But most of the time there is a difficulty in passing, so as to minimize the perineal injury and laceration. Normal practice go for episiotomy. There is no harm in doing episiotomy. It's just a wound which is created at 1 to 1.5 centimeters. If the vulval opening is proper so as to pass the head and trunk, we no need to go for an episiotomy. Okay, Annapurna has again asked how to examine the station. Okay, see, this is the pelvis. Then here will be the vagina and the rest of the part, right? So we will go do a vaginal examination. So during vaginal examination, just we have to look for the effacement of the cervix first, where the cervix is effaced. Then with the internal finger, we have to, if the internal finger can pass through the cervical opening, we can say that it is dilatable. 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger, like that. Then we have to just look for the over the fornices. Fornices between the cervix and the vagina, the spaces. So normally you can feel the bony projections of the ischial spine. Ischial spine is the place where we sit. We sit over the ischial spine. So we will go for the ischial spines. So when you can feel the head of the fetus at the level of ischial spine, it is called as zero station. So when the head passed below the ischial spine, we can say it as station 1. So when it is around 1 centimeter, it is we can say it is station 1. Then after a 0.5 point changes, we can say station 2, 3, 4, like that. And if the station of the head is means above the ischial space, we have to go for that negative gradings. Is that clear? After cesarean, thank you, Harshita, for the comment. Then, after cesarean delivery, can we find out whether normal delivery would have been possible? Normally, there are LSES I will give in the next class. There are criteria for cesarean section. So if that criteria are fulfilling, usually we go for a cesarean section. Sometimes the patient opts that I need a cesarean section. Then the second thing, we are suspecting for a normal labor, but the contractions are improper. We are giving an oxytocin injection, even though the contraction is not proper, and also advancement of the fetal head is not proper. So that in that condition, we will go for an LSES. So so no need to think retrospectively. Actually, because LSES to there are criteria. If that criteria are fulfilled, we will go for LSES. So that time, I think no need to think retrospectively. Okay, how effective is lotus birth? So actually I had never come across with a lotus birth. So saying that is easy for conduct, but in normally hospitals are not promoting such kind of delivery, because as we said, there are so many deleterious conditions like postpartum hemorrhage and also amniotic fluid embolism. These are all grievous complications which causes sudden death of mother and the fetus. So that's why we cannot suspect labor to be normal in every time. We have to watch keenly and suspect for complications it can occur at any moment. So I prefer it will be better labor is conducted over a tertiary care center. Annapurna, I didn't got about degree. Degree means what? What I didn't got. I didn't get to. Annapurna. Okay, degree of effacement. See, effacement means I said that we will assess the cervical length. So, see, first you should clearly understand what does mean by effacement. Effacement, I said there is a cervical fibers will get merged with the lower uterine segment. Once fully effaced, we cannot differentiate cervix with the so see, I will show you in that video. Once it is effaced, you cannot differentiate between the lower uterine segment and the upper uterine cervical segment. This is assessed by length of the cervical canal. So when it is normally the cervical length is 2.5 to 3.5 centimeter. So when it is, when you can see the cervix is to that length, we can say that it is not effaced. But when the cervix is its half of position, or the lower posterior lid of the cervix is not well, we will say that it is 50% effaced. That is 50% of the fibers has been merged. Then if it is 1/4 is remaining, it is can say that it is 25% effaced. See, I will show in this video. It's purely a practical thing. When you experience that, you can understand. Okay, so see here, this is the cervical fibers. This is the lower uterine segment fibers. In this case, it is not effaced. The cervical length is fully, you can when you insert your finger over the vaginal during vaginal examination, you can feel this length, right? So when during effacement, see here, the effacement, this fibers are going upwards. You cannot feel now. See in this stage it is 2%. So here, then after that, it completes. Yes. Hello.
Video not visible.
The screen is not shared.
Hello. Okay. I will share. Sorry, I will share. See.
Yes,
Is this visible now?
visible, ma'am.
Okay. So see here. See here. This is the cervical part. This is the lower uterine segment. Now you can see the cervix is clearly. You can during vaginal examination, if you put your 2 fingers over vagina during vaginal examination, you can feel the cervix because the cervical length is completely as there in the vagina. But during effacement, this fibers, this length will go on decreasing, and after a stage when it is fully effaced, you cannot differentiate it. See in this video, the cervix, see here, the length goes on reducing. Now when you put your fingers, you cannot differentiate. Likewise, completely it will merge with the fibers. You cannot differentiate. There is something called cervix there in the there in the vagina. Hello? Am I clear?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So it is not about a theoretical thing. When you practice, when you do a vasectomy, you can understand. Literally, we will say that about 2.5 of the 5 centimeter of the cervix is visible. It is 100% not effaced. It is 1 centimeter, it is 50% effaced, and 25% means only anterior lip of the cervix can be felt during examination. And if it is 100% phase, there will not be any such like cervix is present. We will feel just a ring which is called rim of the cervix, just like a rubber ring which is felt over the in the upper vagina around the presenting part. Okay. So how do you know molding per vagina during exam and what it signals? See, molding means overlap. The head does I'm starting the video. Can you see this? This see. This is the vertex presentation, and these are the parietal bones. This is the occipital bone, and this is the frontal bone. So prolonged stasis will go the secretion to pent up over here, and also there will be pressure over this way. There will be gliding of the bones of the vertex, and you might have seen in the neonates, their bones are soft and elastic, and there is a gliding movement. So due to this gliding movement, there will be a projection of the project around the parietal eminence. It is normally reversible, but if it goes beyond, there may be chances for intracranial hemorrhage. There will be bleeding from the bleeding in the brain, so that will cause serious effects to the baby. Means birth injuries, we will see, that may cause mild effect to serious effect. So we have to assess the molding. If molding is there, it is that there is a stasis or pressure is there, the head is not going down, and we have to assess. So in that case, we will go for a vacuum suction. In vacuum suction, the capsule formation will be there. That molding to beyond 2x. So that is revertible. After delivery within 10 days, that will resolve by itself. There is no injury to the bone, just a intracranial fluid is collecting. Sure, I will share that you will get from you will get in the link. I have the same thing. I have been given you note. You go thoroughly through the notes and you study in detail. Okay, surely I will share this. Okay, this is, I think it's clear, Akshata.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, hope all the queries are over. We can wind up the session.
Sure.
Ma'am, thank you so much. It's such a wonderful class.
What is it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Hope you will read the topics tomorrow again. Otherwise, it will go off from your mind. So tomorrow itself, you go through the text notes which have been given to you, and once again, you by heart the things which are I told which is important for the exams, and you understand the concept. Then you can easily practice. It will be useful for your practice. Thank you, Annapurna. Thank you. It was nice to interact with you all people.